everyone. We're excited for another week of the SurgeCast, but first we have a quick word from one of our sponsors.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. So 'tis the season for sports, about to ramp back up, football, hockey on the horizon, and for a lot of us, sports are our own therapy. However, it doesn't have to be your only form of therapy. You can join BetterHelp. I personally have utilized therapy and have utilized BetterHelp. I'm so thankful for what it's allowed me to learn about myself and the person I've become through it. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and feel free to switch therapists at any time at no additional charge. So rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN.
All right, and we're back. Welcome to the SurgeCast Season 4, Episode 7. I'm Kat.
I'm Bailey.
I'm Zach.
And I don't know about you guys, but I'm still reeling from our last two guests. Those were, amazing conversations all around.
Oh yeah, Shane. I know we've wanted to get on for a while, so to officially be able to make that happen, I don't know. I'm kind of in the same boat. So
yeah.
If you haven't heard them, I would go check out those two episodes. We get to talk to 2/4, 1/2 of the Canes broadcast team, with Mike Maniscalco first, a longtime guest with us, and then we finally got Shane Willis, Will the Thrill, to join us as well. You get to listen to many of different stories, but when pigs fly, jumping out of the airplane is definitely up there with some of the inside knowledge of how that came about. Is quite interesting and really fun.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a lot of fun talking to him. And of course, Canes Cast is now back too, so it's good to have Mike and Shane just doing Mike and Shane things once again. So yeah,
I personally would like to give this show us a little bit of credit for egging that on, because they've been postponing due to technical difficulties for forever.
So, some technical difficulties. Mike did tell us he had a lot going on, so we just had to put them a little bit to the fire, being like, "Hey guys, not just us, but everyone's wanting to hear from you guys again." So,
and it like that is all jokes, but like it's really nice to see Canes. Stop giving me that look, Zach.
But it's also like it's a great sign. It just is like, honestly, for them holding out, it's a sign that the season's about to start. Everything's getting ramped back up.
Oh,
well, you had a preseason game. You know hockey's back when you get only the radio version if you're outside of the market.
I was gonna say
very interesting radio version.
Out of market people are suffering here a little
very
bit.
Interesting radio version. I will say the one guy I was very proud he could say KK's last name beautifully. So I was like, and he said it multiple times in a row, and I was like, he hasn't stumbled once. Good for him. But I will say, I can officially say this now. After our two guests were a little inclined not to say too much.
Well, I was going to say, what do we mean we're allowed to officially say? We're the ones that have been saying it.
Well, technically, this is official. And if we had Mike or Shane back on here, they would also be able to officially say as well that now it is the Lenovo Center, as it is technically unveiled Thursday, September 19th.
Whoa.
The brand, I will say, in person, the branding's kind of fun and like interesting on the outside. You'll notice if you have gone to the arena anytime recently, it's not fully in place of where the PNC logo was, and there are some sides of the building you're like, "Oh, that's weird." I thought they would put a logo here, but we did have an idea of they are going to be doing construction and changing the building. So we did have the idea of maybe they weren't wanting to spend all that money branding every single side of the building, that they might be changing. I was
going to say just recently. To take it down.
Yeah. If you've seen the renderings of what the final, hopefully it's going to look like, and I'm not surprised they're like, we'll just keep it up there.
I will say their branding, like the signage around and everything has changed very quickly. Even the parking cones, like everything Lenovo, it's on top of it.
I will say also as well, you look at arenas that get new names, and it's almost like an adjustment period, because I have a feeling we're going to be hearing PNC a lot, and yes,
like
it's
RBC,
slip up.
yeah.
Part of it's slip up. Part of it's I don't want to let go. Part of it's whatever will you call it, whatever. I will say I think that's kind of where their head is at a little bit too. Like, people will know it's Lenovo.
Should we take bets? Should we take bets on which of our friends, Shane, Mike, or even Trip, who's gonna accidentally slip up
say
and
it
call
first?
it PNC first? Yeah.
Honestly, I'm giving that to Trip. Personally.
Yeah. Don't put that on Hannah Yates, because she is too professional to mess that up, because she's always on point.
Oh my gosh, always.
Always the constant professional that is Hannah Yates.
Yeah, no, put my Monopoly money on Trip Tracy.
Just don't ask him to say Reese's Pieces and you'll be all right.
So the center ice, I mean, it's pretty clean for as far as logos go. It's center ice, Lenovo center looks pretty good. It's gonna be, and thankfully, you know, the Lenovo coloring goes very well with the Carolina Hurricanes.
It does.
So nice.
Not out of place.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how this news was broken. But yeah, it's all on the Jumbotron, it's on center ice. They've got big letters up in the rafting, it looks like. Like, you're gonna know this is the new. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue as much, and I also realized when we were talking about it, if you're like, why does Lenovo Center sound a little bit different? PNC Arena, like, it just flowed that way, and now you've got Lenovo Center, and it just is a little.
Because you're going from RBC Center to PNC Arena, so you're kind of used to saying like 3 letters and then just whatever it is after that, or people don't even say the last part. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to RBC, or hey, I'm going to PNC. You know what you're talking about. Now it's like, okay, I'm going to Lenovo. Like, I don't think anyone's going to say Lenovo Center every time. It's just, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to Lenovo. And people know what you're going to be talking about, because it's like, oh yeah, it's the arena. Because it's one of the things, just getting used to it. But it's like, it's just the first. Everyone's going to go by a first name basis on the arena. So
yeah, it looks nice. It looks like all the executives and employees were there to meet with Dundon, Rod, even the governor, and the team was there as well. So it's a pretty big deal. But I think it's fun. Of names that we could have had, I'll take it.
I was gonna say it, not to bash other teams, because I know everybody's still kind of getting used to other names as well. Rolls off the tongue better than crypto.com. So we could have ended up.
Can't blame the Kings on that one. Once the Lakers, it's one of those things. I mean, it could be a lot worse, but I mean, just be able to have a company who's been in Raleigh since 2005 being like, yeah, we're going to entrench ourselves on this building name. Hey, there you go. So it kind of works out perfectly. The biggest
prime marketing market.
And we do need to note that PNC is not going away. They're not going to be the name of the building. Your names are just going to be on suites and certain parts of inside the arena. Like so they're putting their money still in with the Canes.
Which is good.
It'll just be in a little bit of a smaller effect, but so you'll see PNC around still, which might make you trip up a little bit as we were talking about getting used to Lenovo. But we are officially playing at the Lenovo Center, and I'm excited. It's just like, it's kind of the first start of, with all the new renderings and stuff that they're going to say, construction, like, it just shows, hey, this is actually like, we're on that way. Like, it's the first step.
Well, there's of course a lot more renderings coming out now of like what the tailgating suites are going to look like next to the arena. And of course, some of like the I think it's like hotels and businesses are going to be on the other side. Like, I think it's the west side, east side of the arena. It's where it's located. There's different spots, but yeah, you can see where you're kind of looking at what your first phase is going to look like. So yeah, it's going to be, if they got the hotels right there next to the arena, it's going to be a lot nicer, especially after games. Like, oh, I don't have to drive to go to my hotel. I can just walk right to it. So yeah, it's going to be nice to see what that whole thing's going to be set up now, instead of just trees and parking lots. Now it's centers and tailgate suites for games for the Hurricanes and the Wolfpack. So yeah, it's going to be fun to see what it looks like when it's done in whenever it gets done at this point.
And they've mentioned, I know, like, we joked when we talked with Doug and everything, like, they have mentioned, like, they are prioritizing. They understand parking is going to be, like, it's going to be a little bit of a pain as, like, new things are built and everything. But, and I know people when they're seeing the renderings, a lot of people are like, well, there goes our tailgating space and everything. They're very aware that tailgating is one of our big things. We just hired, literally, our GM is all about the community. He's been a Canes fan. Like, he's very aware of what makes us, like, Caniacs find value in tailgating and being very a part of, like, the pre-game traditions and all that. They're going to take that away. They're just trying to find ways to enhance it and go, like, in a new direction. Like, tailgating's great. We've got it, but why don't we like catch up to the times and get a little bit newer aspects, newer things to do, add to it, add some restaurants, add bars, anything.
I mean, the suites look really nice. The suites from the rentings look really, really nice. Like, you're talking about some shading that you can get. I mean, why not? So, I mean, it's, and of course, you know, they're also talking to NC State because NC State's also right there. So yeah, they're not going to just be like, oh, we're going to do this and no one's going to tell us no. Well, no, NC State's going to have some say in that as well because they use that building for basketball. They got the arena right. They got the football stadium right there. So obviously they're going to have some say in how their parking situation is going to be for games. So yeah, it's a collaborative effort. So no worries. It's all going to work out fine. Just we got to be patient and see what it looks like when it's all said and done. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it is when it's finally completed.
If the Jarvis deal didn't give you guys any indication, this is a very business-forward GM. Eric Tulsky is very much business-minded on the business side of hockey. So, and part of that business side comes community, and part of the community aspect comes that tailgating. It's not going to go away. It's something that is very much part of the culture that Carolina is known for. Especially when it comes to the fan side of things. So while I'm interested to see how these renderings work when put to, you know, the test of the public and things like that, because there's some interesting things where I'm like, yeah, the suites look cool. How realistic are some of these things? Like, how is that going to work? Is this going to be like a suite type situation, like inside PNC? How open is it going to be to general public? How is that going to work? Whatever. Like, there's a lot of, you know, what ifs from a kind of like money standpoint. But I do think that that tailgating aspect, when everything is said and done, is not going to be something that they are willing to compromise. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, Brian Fork and those guys are going to do what they need to do to get it taken care of. So it's just, Fork and Doug Wharf and all of them. It's they're going to get the job done. We all can, you know, they've been there and done that before. Not worried about it. They're going to get it done. Like I said, they're in the relationship with the Hurricanes and NC State is, I've never really heard anything bad about it. So from all things considered, it's going to work.
I mean, if I was someone at NC State and I knew my stuff, like, because a professional team uses my like location and everything, and I knew I was getting, especially as an athlete, I knew I was getting like updated stuff there, I would be so excited. Like, that's awesome. But we'll see. I mean, we don't know.
We've got a long time. We've got a long time before we see some of this stuff come to fruition, unfortunately, because I mean, that saying Rome wasn't built in a day. The multi-district is not something that can be built in a day. So
no, it's gonna be. You see how the timeline is very long, so it's just let's take it day by day and see what happens.
There is something that is also, we've got a little bit of time before we'll actually see what the results are, but hey, the season's right around the corner, so we want to get started with some Metro Division predictions. We had a little of that with Mike and Shane, but hey, it's our turn. And
oh gosh, let's see.
Last year, I got roasted for some of mine, which actually ended up being true. So we'll see how this one goes about.
Shoot your horn a little harder.
Oh my word!
I don't forget. I forgive. I don't forget.
Gosh.
All right. So how do you guys want to do this? You guys want to start from the bottom up?
8-1.
You always go
bottom up.
We've done it.
No, but I mean, like, each one of us, like, say our 8th and then our 7th.
Oh yeah, how we did it last year.
All right, Zachary, who do you got in 8th?
So this was kind of tough for me because I was debating all day like how I wanted to run 7-8, and just because of I would love for whoever did put it in 8th, I would love to put him higher just for like, hey, I want you guys to do well this year, just for in memory of some guys. Unfortunately, I do have the Jackets in 8th just because of the fact that you look at that roster overall. It's kind of tough. Like as long as the defense stays healthy, maybe, but goaltending is still a big question mark. And just with the forward core, yeah, you got Sean Monahan for 5 years. That's great. But right now they have Boone Jenner as your top left winger. You got Marchenko, and then after that, you got to hope for that a bounce back for Sillinger. You got to hope that all these other guys stay healthy and stuff like that. And what's Fantilli going to be like this year? Because he got hurt last year, when he got his leg cut by a skate blade. So it's a lot of question marks right now for the team all over the board. I would love to put them a lot higher. I almost wanted just to be like I'm putting good vibes out. I want you guys to make the playoffs. And I've even said it. I want them to make the playoffs. But in terms of official predictions, I hate putting them there, but it's just, I don't know what the Jackets are going to be like this year. Just a lot of question marks.
I'll go ahead and go next because I have the Jackets in the same spot. And yeah, I kind of had that same struggle. Like, you look at a roster and then you look at, I kind of had something running through my head. Like, these guys are going to be playing with a purpose this year. Like, and that was kind of like my biggest driving factor. And I have a feeling this is going to be their biggest driving factor as well, is they're playing in memory of somebody who some of these players considered their best friend.
Yeah.
And so that it's not something to be undermined, I think, in this case. And on it, like I said, I'm putting these guys at the bottom of my Metro predictions. I would love to see them prove me wrong. I would love to see nothing more. But you look at some of the guys they lost. Jake Bean is one of the biggest that stands out to me in unrestricted free agent losses, agency losses. But you also look at some of the talent they did bring back as well as in. They re-signed Sillinger. They are re-signing Marchenko. I would love to see these guys have bigger seasons. I just don't, and obviously the addition of Monahan too, like that's going to be huge for this team if they can learn to implement it well. But as you said, Zach, goaltending is going to be a huge issue. Merzlikins has his ups and downs, but I don't see that being it's going to be the guy this year.
Him or Tarasov, yeah. Well, and don't forget too, they also just signed JVR, who James Van Riemsdyk, who I think is going to be a big factor in kind of helping these guys along as the season goes, and he understands the situation.
So
I would love to be wrong, but
yeah, so I will go ahead and say I also have the Blue Jackets ending in last, and it's not even fully it's not based on just the team alone. It's based on, yes, they'll be fighting for a super special reasons this season. But that is also going to hit this team hard. Mm-hmm. And this is a team that's had 2 losses pretty recently. So I will say, while the future is looking really good for them, they have young guys coming up that they can start building around. Mm-hmm. Waddell's there now. Like that's that's the guy that you want to build up with young guys, because that's what he did with the Canes. Like he is known for that environment. So there is a future for this team. I think this season is going to be especially hard. I think everyone in the league will be rooting for them. However far up in the standings they go, I think everyone will be rooting for them. But I think it's going to be a hard one. It was going to be a hard one anyway with their roster, because fighting in the Metro, and we talk about all the time, fighting in the Metro, and especially the Atlantic is getting very strong. It's hard. And so they were not going to be very high anyway, but with what's happened on the offseason, I would say they're staying bottom of the barrel, unfortunately.
It's really, I think, all going to depend on the strength of these new offseason signings for them. Because like I said, you've got Monahan coming in. You have a few key guys who they consider part of their core coming back to re-sign. They
need Werenski to stay healthy.
Yep.
Absolutely. And one of the other guys that I was going to mention too, talking about their blue line, Hurricanes fans may recognize this name a little bit. Drafty Jack Johnson. They signed him, and he is an older veteran guy. Mm-hmm. But he had the chance to play with the Colorado Avalanche last year, which are also a very strong blue line team. So I think he brings a lot of blue line defensive knowledge to this team too. And I'm wondering how they might be able to utilize that on the team as well.
Also, Jarachek too. He's a young kid, but I think Jarachek's gonna be someone to keep an eye on for just his upside alone. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do overall with a lot of the upside. It's just you gotta hope that JVR steps up big for them along with all the other guys. And yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting season for the Jackets for sure. Like I said, love to be proven wrong in terms of where we put them, but
especially like we said, with the loss this season, as well as working around a new GM system. Don Waddell, we know how his system works. We know how that man kind of swings with things. It'll be interesting how that system kind of changes along with that as well.
I mean, let's be honest. We're all going to be cheering. We're all going to be Blue Jackets fans when our team is not playing them because we do want them to succeed as much as possible. Do they have a head coach? Have they signed a head coach yet?
Yeah, it was I think it was Dean Everson. He was the Minnesota Wild coach last year before he got let go. Yes. I know it's Everson. I think it's Dean. I think it's Dean Everson if I'm correct.
Yeah,
so.
You're correct. You're correct.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Okay. Then going in reverse order, I will go ahead and I will say in 7th place, I have the Caps.
I also have the Caps.
Mm-hmm. I have the Caps.
Go ahead.
I think this is a team that is still riding the coattails of their major player.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this team will be a big resurgence on the ice, honestly, until Ovechkin is retired. I'm not gonna lie. I think he has stuff he can contribute on the ice. I don't think he is the masthead that he was before that carried them on different terms. So I think now we're playing around this guy, but this guy he's not the Connor McDavid leading the team. He's not one of the Hughes brothers. He's there, but he's like, everyone knows how great he is. He's still got a killer shot, but he's not that driving force that I think will get them into playoff contention or into a big playoff run. They did get Logan Thompson for goaltending. They got
they got Logan Thompson. They also added in PLD.
Yeah. They got some people that they were people that we were like, hey, this could be a player that we might like to have. You've got is it Roy or Rob? Which one is it?
I think it's Roy.
Not Roy.
I could see.
It's Matt Roy. Yeah, Matt Roy from LA Kings.
Yeah, they just signed.
They also got Brandon Duhaime.
Yep, they signed Duhaime. They signed Taylor Radish. Which honestly, I'm interested to see how Radish performs this year. I don't recall too much about his game. I know he spent the past few seasons with the Blackhawks, which are a still recovering team. I'll put it that way. But it's you got a big veteran guy like Ovechkin, and there's I don't know.
You're holding out for him to do well. You've bolstered your blue line. You're trying to see if you can get a goaltender that'll carry it. But if Ovechkin's not firing, how much more do you have at the moment?
The one thing I will say too is a somewhat sizable loss for the Capitals and a guy I really liked watching. Losing Abe Kubel, I think, kind of stings a little bit there too. For me personally, he's now in Buffalo.
You know what? Really, it also really stings for their Wags because his wife made some awesome gear. But anyway, I don't remember how much Pacioretty played last year. He played some, but I don't think he was.
I don't remember him making a huge splash with the team either. So, I that loss in Abe Kubel I think kind of stings a little bit, but I don't hate it. I don't know. This isn't a roster that's really overall exciting to me, if that makes sense. You got to pest
the most exciting The
He
most
gets
exciting
humble, so
thing.
that's about it.
No, the most exciting thing they did in the offseason was they bought Cap Friendly, which everyone is like, not, what have
No,
they done with it?
that already puts them on my I can't say that word on air. My crap list.
Okay, Zach, do you agree, or do you have someone else down there? And good old
I do have someone else. I actually have the Philadelphia Flyers at the number 7 spot.
Okay.
For me with the Capitals, like you do add Mangiapane, you guys see what he can do. Connor McMichael did pretty well for them last year. PLD is, of course, the biggest question mark. Nick Dowd didn't do too bad last year for them as well. You do have Hendrix Lapierre, who I think is a very underrated player. Their defense, overall, still really good. I mean, you got Jacob Chekrin with John Carlson. Matt Roy did really well. With the LA Kings, Rasmus Sandin did well when he got moved over there to them. And then, Charlie Lindgren has done overall pretty good with the Capitals. Logan Thompson as well, just because of what he did with the Vegas Golden Knights. Of course, they do lose TJ Oshie. Backstrom's not going to be there as well. So those are kind of big hits. But for me, when you look at the Philadelphia Flyers, and it's like, yes, everyone's excited for, Matvei Michkov and what he could do for them. But here's my thing is I think they played well over their heads last year. And if you look at how their roster is set up, it's, you got to hope that Noah Kate steps up, Ryan Foley, Bobby Brink, a lot of these young guys who are in your bottom 6. What's Sean Couturier going to do? He's the captain, but he got a healthy scratch last year. You got Morgan Frost. Is he a legit 2C? Can Owen Tippett keep his run going? Yeah, they got Michkov, but he's going to be a rookie. Are they really going to lean on him all year to lead the way for them? You look at their defense. I mean, yeah, Cam York is really good. Travis Sanheim, he's got an up and down year, but then it's like you got to hope that Jamie Drysdale is the guy that he is because you traded Cutter Gauthier for him. You got to hope that Nick Seeler, Igor Zamula, and Rasmus Ristolainen he's probably still one of their biggest question marks. But then here's the big thing for me is like, yeah, you have, you've got Lindgren and Thompson down there for the Capitals, but here's it is for the Flyers. Samuel Ersson and Ivan Fedotov, for me, that is a really, really massive question mark for the Philadelphia Flyers because just after, they had to let a certain goalie go because of his situation, they fell apart. Like goalie-wise, they rode Sam Ersson. He struggled a lot. Fedotov came over. He didn't do that great either. So it's like I think the biggest question mark for the Flyers is can their goalies stop the puck, and you got to hope that defense stacks up too. For me, it's a lot of, you're putting a lot of hope into your defense and you're putting a lot of hope in your goaltending who maybe not, I don't think they even have one full season combined in the NHL. Like Ersson he went up and down a lot between Lehigh Valley and Philadelphia with the Flyers. So it's just, I see what you're saying with the Capitals.
Hart kind of messed them up. Like that's like,
that was a really big snag for them.
Well, yeah, I see what you guys are saying with the Capitals. Yeah, I see what you're saying about the Capitals. For me, I think the Flyers have a lot more question marks, and I think they played well above their heads last year. And I think this is their coming back to earth moment, and it's going to be hitting very hard because you're hoping a lot of young guys step up. You're putting a lot of hope into this Russian kid who's supposed to be the next coming for them. So I could definitely see 6 and 7 flipping around, but I think for right now, just looking at the two teams, I feel a little bit better about the Capitals in their situation.
So you have the Capitals at 6?
Yeah, I got the Capitals at 6.
Kat, am I right in assuming you have the Flyers at 6 then?
No,
really? Ooh,
nope.
Yeah. So
while we're still on the Flyers, I guess I'll go ahead and make my 6 prediction. I have the Flyers at 6. And one of the biggest reasons, and Zach, I completely see kind of where you're going with this whole, like lots of question marks. I will draw your attention to a move they just made today, if I'm correct. Talk about bolstering goaltending, a name that Canes fans will also recognize in Eetu Makiniemi. I don't think he's going to be a huge NHL guy for the Flyers. I think this is more of a
safety net for Lehigh Valley. Yeah, that's honestly what it's looking like.
Exactly where I was going. I think he's going to be a great crease addition for Lehigh Valley. But I mean, my whole big thing is they don't call these guys the Broad Street Bullies for nothing. This is a team that plays physical. When you're under the kind of oh gosh, when you're under Tortorella's reign, I mean, that's kind of the system you're agreeing to play under. This is a team that plays gritty, that plays with speed, that plays with intent. You're playing with it's a team that's built on aggression per se, or this is kind of the take that I kind of have on it from the outside. And I think that's not something to be forgotten. Yes, they have a lot of question marks. And honestly, I could probably flip Philly and Washington depending on how I'm feeling that day. But honestly, I think the grit that these guys play with is something that a lot of teams tend to undermine. And I think that's kind of what makes them a little bit more dangerous than a team like Washington.
So I guess we're all a little bit different here at 6. I have the Pittsburgh Penguins. Listen, I understand that like life, death, and Sidney Crosby signing an 8.7, but that man drags this Penguins team kicking and screaming, way more dragging than Ovechkin. I feel like sometimes they're dragging Ovechkin along.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Something about them, like they're always like right there, but it's because of Sidney Crosby is why they could be right there. I think they finished 5th last year. Their GM and their coach, there's things that like they might not be like clicking head meshing together well with Dubas and Mike Sullivan. I just don't think they did a lot of big moves. They're another team like the Capitals that are sticking with their old time players, and it's because of out of loyalty. It's because, which is great, but I think when those guys are not clicking or those guys don't have it for a game, that's when the team is falling apart. They fell apart a lot last season, a lot. And like, yes, towards the end, like they're just like the other team we'll talk about later with the Islanders that for some reason make these like crawls and pushes at the very end part of the season. But like they fall apart during the main part of the season. And then they're surprisingly not in playoffs. I don't think it's their playoff run again until I think for both the Capitals and I think for the Penguins, I think their core, it's not going to be what they need to get back into the playoff contention for me. They have Ned in goal. That's not bad. Ned plays well. Who else do they have?
Tristan and Jari is their main guy in that.
Which is
I personally really like Jari, but that's
he's injury prone.
He is
very injury prone, which is what when he got pulled around. When he got brought to the team, that's what everyone was like, why did we bring him along? Because he's injury prone.
Yes, he's injury prone, but when he's not injured.
When he's not injured, but was his name high up in those names of goaltenders last season when he was not injured? I would say he's like mid higher the pack, but I don't think he's a game-changing goalie.
No, I wouldn't say he's game-changing, but when he's healthy, he is not the worst pick in the world.
He's not the worst pick because apparently the worst pick is on the Flyers, according to Zach.
No, and honestly, like saying it that way seems a little weird. But honestly, like when he's not injured, he is a guy that you can rely on to hold the fort down in net. He doesn't have too many bad games when.
I just feel the Penguins slowly, some of their veterans, they're either slowly not re-signing them, they're trading them, they're retiring. It's like they're slowly going away. But you have your core, of course, with Crosby, Malkin, and Letang. But that wasn't enough last season. And like, are you bolstering around them? I mean, yeah, you got the other Sebastian Aho this offseason.
The wrong one.
Sorry. I don't know. I don't. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot Erik Karlsson. I don't know. I want more from them, but I don't see it. So I'm having them at 6, which honestly is just one place down from last year.
Zach, who did you have at 5?
I got the New York Islanders at 5.
Oh,
I mean, okay. The only additions they've brought in at all this offseason is Anthony Duclair. Like
Zach,
Lou
what
Lamoriello
offseasons
finally,
have they ever made? It doesn't matter for them. That team hops along on one toe to the wild card as much as possible. Sometimes even getting into the top 3. It makes no sense.
but the thing is, they also got Maxim Tisplakov.
Sure.
Either way, I mean, the rest of the team has gotten older. I mean, yeah, you got Brock Nelson, Paul Mary. You gave Engvall that huge of a contract. That still makes no sense. You got to hope Casey Zizekia stays healthy. I mean, hey, big shout out to Kyle McLean, former junior Cane. He got a contract as well, so he's staying on the island. Other than that, I mean, you got to hope that Pelech and Polak stay healthy. Other than that defense is going to fall apart. Mike Riley, you can't really.
Isn't Matt Martin on
PTO? Yes.
PTO, yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He used to be Cane's
but
fan
you
number
gotta
one
hope
enemy.
that Pelican Pol. Yeah, you gotta hope that Pelican Polak stay healthy. I mean, after that, what's Mike Riley and Scott Mayfield gonna do? They gave Scott Mayfield a huge contract, which also makes no sense. Yeah, you do have some good goaltending in Sorokin and Varlamov, but all I've heard all offseason around from guys that do podcasting or for the Islanders, they think there's something going on with I think it was Varlamov. So if he's not good to go, are you really going to put all your hopes on Sorokin? And like I said, that defense is, you lose 2 guys. Who do you really have? And the forward core, yeah, it's they stumble and they bumble their way into the playoffs somehow just because teams want to decide to fall apart within the last week. But the rest of the teams got old. Yeah, you added 2 forwards. Other than that, the Islanders have really not done much. And I'm sorry, I am not sold on the Islanders to do it again. Like, your run has to eventually end. Father Time catches up to you at some point. And guess what?
It won't end until the tie points don't exist the way they do, Zach. It won't end. They will exploit it. They will exploit it just like Vegas exploits the no payment at the end of the season. It's literally
LTIR,
life, death, and the Islanders and their tie points nonstop.
Okay. Yes, we all know Vegas and their LTIR situation, and yes, the Islanders are overtime merchants. But the regression to the means finally going to catch up. Father Time's going to catch them eventually because it always does. I'm just not sold on the Islanders. I think they're finally going to miss the playoffs because I'm sorry, adding 2 guys is not going to happen.
No one buys into them. They're just creeping in there.
Well, it's ending this year.
They're that
I'm
neighbor peering over the hedge at you nonstop.
I'm calling it now. The Islanders are going to miss the playoffs. Finally, we don't have to deal with them.
Here's my curse word of the episode. They're that one team that sneaks up on you, and you think, oh yeah, you got your Metro locked in, you got your Atlanta, or you've got your East Coast locked in, and the Islanders are there, kind of psych bitch. Here I am. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's the Islanders.
TikTok sound I can think of them all the time with, but
Kat, let's go ahead.
5. I'm just not.
Who's your 5, Bailey?
5. We're gonna swing back around to Pittsburgh for my 5.
Okay.
I honestly think they're again kind of that middle road team, for me, where I want to say this signing from Sidney Crosby helps them, but I don't see it being the thing that helps them get over the playoff hump.
I love people being like, did you see what other people signed, Sid? Did you see? And he's like, no. I only want this.
Yeah, but that's the thing that's a little interesting to me too, is you kind of saw the attitude that he had towards the sport and the Penguins last season when they got rid of Gensel. And he just kind of looked dejected. He didn't look happy. He didn't look like his heart was in it. Or if on the other side of the board, he looked like his heart was in it, and maybe he was the only one. Like he was the only one that kind of wanted that for the Penguins team. And here he was getting screwed over by management and everybody else around him. So I think it's an interesting move that he decided to re-sign there, given that almost kind of attitude that was being portrayed to the public and fans and things last season. I will say, while I had Pittsburgh pulled up, I'm sitting here looking at the free agency tracker too. They did sign Aho, which, okay, cool, I guess. The Baileys contract, I think, helps. The Klerman contract, that's going to kind of help bolster a lot of their AHL team, which I'm kind of starting to look at more and more. This roster just doesn't strike me as the roster to get them over the playoff or get them into the playoffs. And that's kind of where I'll end with that there. I love the Grizzly. I do like the Grizzly signing for them. I like that they re-signed Crosby. That's everything else just kind of strikes me as a okay, cool kind of thing, but it's not all that surprising and exciting and pushing determination wise for me for this team.
All right, so in 5th you've got the Penguins.
Kat, what about you?
Zach, what was your 5th one?
Islanders.
I have the Flyers.
Okay.
And it's because, like you said, they're middle of the road team. They have improvement. You're expecting a lot. Like you could have Brink, Forrester, Drysdale, York. Like you could have, they need to step up, but they're young and they can step up to that potential. They've got a coach that'll run them ragged if they don't.
Mm-hmm.
The goaltending, give them a chance. You were riding on someone that is becoming shall not be named, and like he kind of messed up the groove of your team.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what the other goaltenders can do. I mean, we've seen random goal. Listen. None of us saw a playoff Bob happening, but he has continued to happen. Who knows? Some young kid can suddenly get hot during the season. You never know what'll happen. So I'm giving them their middle of the pack, but because of their youth and their like shocker of a last season and kind of also like a little bit more push behind them now, I'm putting them above teams where they're aging out, whereas these guys are a young team. Like I would say, I would almost, if they didn't have all the stuff going on with them, like personally, I would start to put the Blue Jackets maybe up a little bit more, kind of like I am with the Flyers. But I can't because of what's been what's gone on with them. So that's why I have the Flyers. I'm taking the youth and I'm taking that push because I don't know if it's a lack of talent, but a lack of gelling together, just like with the goalies. Like they haven't had a chance to really gel with the team.
Okay.
I am for 4, the spot they love. I'm gonna go with the Islanders though. But I am gonna. But listen. As I'm saying my 4th prediction, you guys can also chime in on this. My hot take is I don't think a Metro team will make a wild card spot this season.
Mm-hmm. That was I actually texted.
They're going to be 4th, but
Richie.
I don't think they're going to be, and I don't think a Metro team will have a wild card spot this season.
Nope. I literally said that to Richie when I sent him my predictions earlier. Is I was like, this might be a hot take, but I think the wild card spots are going to be all Atlantic teams.
Atlantic is strong. Mm-hmm. Atlantic is very strong. Like I was sitting there and I was like, just read them to me. Like, just get my mind going again. Read me the Atlantic Division. And as soon as he read like 3 teams, I was like, yeah, the Metro is not making that. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, okay, the Atlantic, you've got Tampa Bay, who is nonstop in the fight. Always.
I was going to say, even with losing Stamkos, they're still an extremely strong team.
You have the Boston Bruins. Always in the fight as well.
Always.
Maple Leafs, You're going to count on them to be there. You don't know how far they'll get, but you're going to count on them to
They're
be
winning
there.
in the first round now.
Florida Panthers.
One time.
Panthers.
One time. Calm down.
Florida Panthers. That's 4. You have the Detroit Red Wings. The Detroit Red Wings, I was heartbroken for them last season. Like, good Lord. The way that they had their heart, like their hopes imagined and then shattered all in like 5 seconds. I was like, oh my god.
Good job, John Tortorella, who pulls your goalie.
Yeah, the Flyers messed them up.
I'm part Abs fan, so I can't feel bad for them.
You have their you have their lower of the pack. You have the Canadians, you have the Sabres, you have the Senator. Like, you have their lower of the pack, but they have a lot more differential in what they have above and their lower of the pack than what the Metro does right now. And I even think their middle is better than the mid for the Metro.
I will go ahead and chime in here and say that the Islanders are my 4th as well. And before you get mad at me, Zach, let me reiterate that I don't think they're going to make playoffs this year. I don't think they are a playoff.
We agree with you on that. But we think they're going to be higher in the standings because that team will cross that finish line crippled if they need to.
The reason that I say this, and it's the same reason I'm going to give for one of my teams that I have higher than the Islanders as well, is they didn't really, they didn't make a huge splash this offseason. They didn't really do much. They signed Duclair, they signed Riley. There's not much else that sits there and sets them apart from the team they were last year. Yeah, they lost the wrong Sebastian Aho. Matt Martin I remember him making a few splashes in the playoff series that we played against the Islanders. You lose Bertuzzo. There's not much else that they lost or gained for me. And I think that's why I kind of have them where they are.
They still have their goaltending. Their goaltending is still strong compared to many of the others.
and this is the same reason, again, we gave for Bob, is you run into a hot goaltender, and a hot goaltender can make or break a team. And I think that's exactly what Sorokin and Varlamov can do for this team.
A hot goaltender for the Islanders is disgusting because then you're just going to have that. They're going to do that really clutter the entire... Like, if if Sorokin or Varlamov aren't in net, you better bet the entire Islanders team is. And it's so irritating. And you will be down there shooting 1,000. And it's not just the Hurricanes. I understand as Hurricanes fans, we do shoot a lot. But it's not just us. Like, you can throw everything except the kitchen sink at this team. And you'll be above them in shots. You'll be above them in presence. And then they go down once, get a lucky bounce. And you're like, what?
All of a sudden that fire is back.
Watch. They tied the game with this weird old bounce. And they get a point out of it.
So
irritating.
That's my reasoning for putting the Islanders where I did, is because I think... should an anomaly happen and a Metro team does make at least the wild card 2 spot, I think that team could be the Islanders. I don't think it is, though, just because they haven't really, again, that big splash factor during the offseason, during free agencies. They didn't do much. So I don't see them being worse or better than they were last year.
All right, Zachary, we see you have thoughts. Who do you have it for?
Oh, this is going to be fun. I think this team will make the wild card. So sorry to both of you. It's going to be 4-4. Give me one Pittsburgh Penguins at the number 4 spot in the Metro. You're also forgetting one guy they did add in a trade who's supposed to be really, really good, and they have a lot of hopes for this kid. Rutger McGroarty. Can't forget about him.
Oh, yeah. Rutger McGroarty.
Did I just hear Scooby-Doo on our podcast? What was that?
I was going to say is
McGroarty? Come on now. I know I pronounce it. I pronounce it correctly. Thank you very much.
Okay, tell us.
Going back to what you said, though, Anthony Belivier, I mean, this kid's a former 14th overall pick. Like, he was supposed to be, they're all saying, from Elliot Friedman to pretty much everyone in Sportsnet, TSN, even all the big names, this guy is already NHL ready right now. And for the fact that all they had to do was just trade another 14th overall pick from the draft after McGroarty's, and he's already slotted to do something in the top 9. He's going to be really
Zach,
good for the Penguins.
As much as you love making fun of us, he is a 2000 baby. Just so you know.
Oh, there you go.
2004. He's young guy with some talent. So I will give that to you.
Sure.
Anthony Bolivier, former Islander, who could do something for them. Brian Russ is coming back as well. Give me a full season of Michael Bunting with Evgeny Malkin. Those two, when they were put together, absolutely went off for the Penguins. I mean, I would not be surprised.
Okay. I'm sorry. We had high hopes for Bunting when he was here, and I didn't see it. So I listen. He improved me wrong with the.
Did you guys watch? Did you see what he did with the Penguins? Or
yeah, did I see him make playoffs? Oh wait.
You also got Kevin Hayes, former Cup winner, Lars Eller with the Capitals. They did get Cody Glass. Blake Lizotte they're really high on. Hopefully he can kind of figure it out. You can never overlook Noel Acciari. So yes, he is bottom 9, but he's a guy who's very, very sneaky. The question mark is definitely the defense, because you got to hope that Ryan Graves can play up to the contract that they gave him. Can Erik Karlsson find his stride again after having 100 points with the Sharks? Marcus Patterson is really good defensively. Of course, you can never overlook Chris Letang. I like the Matt Grzelcyk addition. I think he's going to bring some of that Boston Bruins over to the Penguin side of things. I know you guys are not high on them. Let's see, was it 5th and 6th? Yeah, I just never count out Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Chris Letang, and they did add some additions. I'm just saying I would not be surprised if the Pittsburgh Penguins, because they almost made the playoffs last year. They had a better plus minus and goal differential than the Capitals is minus 37. If they didn't go 0 for 32 straight in power plays, they actually just did something there, I think they would have made the playoffs. So yeah, I'm not betting on against.
But the fact that they went 0-32 with Sidney Crosby, Malkin, and Letang,
and Carlson on the same line. So yeah, they overloaded. Well, they overloaded. That's what their problem was. They overloaded one group, and the PP2 group was just no. So I'm just saying I would not want to bet against the Penguins.
The one thing that, and this is part of the reason is why I put the Penguins kind of low, is because of that overloading. You can't just rely on one line to sit there and do all the work for you. You can't rely on maybe 5 guys to be all of your scoring, to do all of that work for you.
Hey, question. Colorado, how does it feel to have a line and a half do all your work?
I'm not saying that's not a problem for them either, but we're talking about the Metro Division, not the Central. So sit down.
I mean,
okay. Anyway, moving on.
Number 3.
Number 3.
I have a feeling this is going to be, and my radar could be totally off here. I have a feeling we all have the same for number 3.
Okay.
Did you put the New Jersey Devils at number 3?
I did.
I did not.
Ooh. You go first.
Okay.
You go first.
It's the Canes. I'm just kidding. No.
This is a Canes podcast, ma'am.
I put the Rangers.
Okay.
I think so. The Rangers did a lot last season.
Excuse me?
It was so delayed.
No, because he's just sitting there awestruck, like, huh?
So the Rangers did a lot last season.
Mm-hmm.
And then this season, they didn't have much to do in the offseason because I think they felt they did a lot last season. So they didn't do a whole bunch. I think there's going to be a little bit of on the ice because they wanted their captain out this offseason hard. That's going to influence the ice. The fact that you want your leader of your team out and they had to go through a whole thing and he literally had to say, no, I'm staying. He had to put his foot down and literally enforce his, you can't trade me here for that. I think that's a big one. Yes, they have Shasti irritates me, but yes, they have him. I don't think he's the second coming of Vasilevsky as much as they all like to say it. I think they're trying to ride what they did last year. And I don't know if it'll happen again the same way. Like, I think they're still going to be good. I think they'll probably bounce between, like, for the top 3 spots. I think they'll probably bounce between them. But I have them at 3.
I'm going to put a pin in my Rangers talk and save that for 2.
Okay.
I do want to move on to the Devils, though. Zach, you had them at 3.
Yes.
So did I.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts?
For me, I mean, the big question mark coming into this is, can everyone stay healthy? Now, Luke Hughes already out 4 to 6 weeks. They got to figure that out. Yes, you bring Thomas Tatar back for, I want to say, the 17th time, because it seems like he's in Jersey, goes somewhere else, comes back. And the thing too is, like, yes, they do have Steph Nason. As of right now, apparently Daily Faceoff has him with Eric Holla and Andre Palat. I don't know how that's going to work out with Nason and Holla, but I digress. I mean, your fourth line, you got Cotter, Lazar, and Bastion. You got to hope that maybe that works out. Can Dawson Mercer be the guy that they're hoping for? Can Timo Meyer be that guy that they traded for? Jesper Bratt. I mean, everyone's high on this kid. I'm waiting to see what he can do. And it's just, you look at the defense as well, and it's one of those things where if Daily Faceoff wants to work, I'll let you know what the defense is like. But you got to help the Dougie Hamilton stays healthy. Yeah, you do get Brett Pesce, who does come in. Goaltending, yes, you got Jake Allen. You did get Jacob Markstrom. I think the defense does help. You got your goaltending situation figured out. Can your defense work together as a group? Can a lot of these guys stay healthy? And right now, you already lost one of your defensemen. Your forward core, you got to hope all those guys stay healthy, because they dealt with a lot of injuries last year. I can definitely see the Devils moving up to 2 or maybe taking 1. For me, it's where they're at right now. I can definitely see a situation where they're in 3rd just because of injuries.
Let's also not forget or discount too that a guy they've been relying on a little bit more so lately, Luke Hughes, is not starting the season with them this year. So consistency from him once he comes back from his injury, you're relying on that consistency that he can produce once he comes back, if he can produce that.
And you gotta hope that Jack stays healthy too, because he missed a lot of time last year as well.
He did.
And like I said, and the same thing with Nico Hischier. Injuries bit these guys. They have some roster turnover. Yeah, if it could work out, but you're hoping your defense sticks together. You got to hope your forwards don't drop like flies, and has your goaltending got figured out. Because Jacob Markstrom is good, but let's not forget Jacob Markstrom really loves to play really far out of the net. We all remember Dangitz, where he was all the way almost by the blue line almost half the time.
Yeah, so but you've got him. So they're trying to. I think they've tried to figure out their goaltender situation, which honestly. I could say that
they've got some decent choices in goaltending.
I know, and I could say that same thing for so many teams. Figure out goaltending situations and praying it works.
Because I mean, you've got Dawes back there, you've got Jake Allen back there, you've got Poulter too. Which
I think goaltending was one of their big things they were really trying to figure out. And yeah, maybe he's a goalie that plays out a little bit more. Okay, so you have a stay-at-home defenseman in Brett Pesce. I know Carolina fans are mixed reviews on Brett Pesce, but you got to remember this guy literally played side by side with Jacob Slavin, and he was our second best stay-at-home defender for quite a while. And he is the reason also Brady Shea had such a good career with us and how he could push offensively. So you pair him with the right person, and you've got someone to cover your goaltender and also give you a little bit of scoring on whatever pairing that he's with. I like that for them. I feel like last season they were coming down from that like big run of theirs, and it was kind of a little bit of a shell shock, where I think now that they've seen the ups and downs of it, they're going to be a little bit more consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was going to say
mean,
Dougie Hamilton's consistency factor, I think, is going to play a huge role in things as well, because he's been very on and off for the past few seasons too with injury.
Also, they got some grit. They
He
got
played- he played
Nason.
less-
They've got a Carolina Hurricane and Nason. They've got some grit and some net front presence on their team.
Another
Oh, so it's the New Jersey Hurricanes, because they have like 4 former Hurricanes on that team now.
Yeah, like we're like Carolina Rangers. I know. It's literally that's how the league works.
something I will also say too is we brought up Steph Nason. I think the big make it or break it for Steph Nason is going to be finding somebody that he gels with, because the big reason why we saw a lot of success from him was because he had a guy he had a lot of chemistry with in Jack Drury. And you see how he can produce when you can rely on somebody feeding you the net front. So yes, New Jersey ideally is getting somebody who's going to provide them with some much needed net front presence. But can he get fed the way that he needs to be? Another while we're kind of talking about defensemen as well, somebody that I'm hoping makes a bigger splash this season too, and I'll point out 2 guys, Simon Nemec and Siegenthaler. I'm looking to have those are my predictions for guys to have big seasons this year from New Jersey too. I just don't think it's enough to get them to that 2 spot.
I mean, let's be honest, and we all know Mike has said the same thing. You could interchange 1 through 3 depending on the day. Like I can tell you 2 days from now that I can think that my top 3 is completely different. It's just as of right now on the 25th of September, this is just kind of where I'm looking at right now. But if you ask me October 1st, I can give you a whole different top 3.
Ask me again in December and see if my answer changes.
Honestly, I'm good if we give it, come mid-season. give
me until American Thanksgiving, which somehow is always the main date of where a team is at.
82 games.
That's so many games.
So okay, so you guys have so I've got Rangers third, you guys have the Devils. I'm guessing we flip-flopped maybe at second, or you guys ranked the Canes lower.
I will let Zach answer first.
I do have the Canes at number 2.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And he runs the Lockdown podcast too. Get him out of here! Get him out!
Get out! You're fired.
It's like we're in Boston. Boo!
Oh, I am so sorry that I'm not going to let my bias control how I want to. Listen, I love you. We all know I love my Hurricanes, but we have to be realistic too.
Fake fan.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
Hashtag fake fan.
Put it on your wall.
Moose
I'm
get
joking.
started.
Anyway, you can talk, Zach. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's just like I said. You asked me a couple days from now, I could say the Hurricanes can win the division. It's like you can swap your top 3 anyway how you look at it. But if you're looking at the roster right now, I still believe we did take a half a step back. It's not the Hurricanes are going to fall out of the playoffs completely. No, they're still locked in. Heck, they could still make a run because we've seen other teams like the LA Kings were an 8th seed. They went to go win the Stanley Cup. The Edmonton Oilers, when we beat them in 06, 8th seeded team. Anyone can get hot at the right time. And the Hurricanes could be that team who could get hot at the right time. But if you're asking me right now, I do think the Hurricanes are right now the second best team in the Metro. They're going to keep it close to the Rangers. But it's just for me, it's one of those things where it's your top line is Svechnikov, Aho, Jarvis. Great, fantastic. You're hoping Svech gets 30 goals and 80 points and all that stuff. And you got to hope that Aho, Jarvis do the same thing they did last year. Jack Roslovic is your second line left winger. Can his speed help Martin Necas? Because we all know that if Martin Necas has a guy who's got speed alongside him, maybe he could get into the zone a lot faster. Maybe instead of having to stop and wait for everyone, Jack's on the other side being there. You got KK who's really needs to have a big bounce back season, because I just talked about it for Thursday's show of Locked On. It's that he's a guy who really needs to do something, in that it's just one of those things where you got to hope he can make a big bounce back. I don't think anyone really thought Carrier was going to be a third line right winger with the Jordans. I'm hoping he does really well for them too. And then you got Lemieux, Jury. Right now they have Jost. Could be Eric Robinson. That's you got to hope that fourth line gels together and Jack plays really well. Defense, I'm not worried about the defense. Slavin Burns, okay, great. Orlov, Chatty, fantastic. Let's run it back with those top 4. You know that group's going to get good together. Gostisbehere, hey, we saw we did 2 seasons ago. Now again for the next 3 years. Oh, we get Sean Walker. Thank you very much. The defense is perfect. I have no qualms about the defense. Goaltending is great. Kochekov, we know what he can do. He basically drove the bus last year. Give him more 1A time. Fine. Frederick Anderson, we know he's injury prone, but when he's on, he's on. And hey, you got Spencer Martin as your third goaltender. Name teams will love to have a third like that.
Those black pads.
I mean, hey, if Darth Vader wants to stick back there, I'm good with it. I don't care at this point. Or the Dark Knight, or whatever you want to call him. Like I said, I love the Hurricanes. I do think they took a half a step back. The 4 core is a big question mark right now. Your top 6 is okay. Your bottom 6, you kind of know what your third line is. Can someone else fill that lineup too? Can the 4th line do their thing? What's your 13th forward? Who's your 7th defenseman? Like I said, I would love to be biased, but I'm also got to be realistic here too. It's one of those things where I do see the Hurricanes finishing second. Like I said, you can ask me 2 weeks from now, I could say they could win the Metro. You can easily swap the top 3 for me. But
Bailey.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
So I mentioned with one of my teams that there was not a team that made a whole lot of changes this season. That also, I think, applies to the New York Rangers. And while when I sent the list to our intern, I did technically have the Rangers at second, but there's a little asterisk that I will ask once the graphic goes out. It gets put next to my choices because it
okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, stand on it. Stand on it, Bailey. Stand on it, Bailey.
No, I'm sitting here saying, like, yes, I do have the Rangers at my number 2, but because they didn't make all that many changes this year, Kat, I see why you put them at 3 because of that. Because you don't there's that big question mark of, okay, are they going to be that great?
So they proved they proved, just like we've seen with other teams, and I know the Carolina Hurricanes love to also bring up this point, but it happened to everyone in playoffs at one time or another. If their power play doesn't work, they're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep Panarin, Zibanejad, and Kreider quiet, they're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You have Quick backing up Shesty if he has a bad night, but can he do it? How equipped is he? And then you have a captain who, like, there's so much news and like disgruntledness around your captain. Like that's,
and it's
not
one
good
of those things.
Chemistry.
Absolutely, and that's the one thing that kind of gets me with that is, yes, Trouba is a pest. Yes, Trouba plays hard, and you know it. It's not a secret to anybody, especially his teammates. But I do think that physicality factor, it plays a huge role in playoffs, whether you love it, whether you hate it. Yes, it's horrible how he plays sometimes. I don't like some of the things and some of the choices that he makes out on the ice, but it's not just him too. There's that physicality factor that he brings to the entire team as well, that he kind of brings that out of. And that physicality factor plays a huge role. And I still think that is a hump that the Carolina Hurricanes have yet to get over in playoffs. That's something that they have yet to match from teams that they've played against. And that's something that I think will come to hurt them come postseason.
I agree and I disagree with that statement. I do, like, I think last season you saw a more physical side of the Hurricanes.
Oh, absolutely.
And to say that they don't meet the physicality of some of the other teams is, yes, you're correct. Personally for me and how I like to view my teams is I don't know if I want them to meet the physicality of Trouba, because I don't want my teams, my players to play in that reckless manner. So like, I want them to be physical. That's why I say I agree and I disagree. Cause I agree with you. Like, yes, at points you're like, they're not really meeting the physicality of it, but I'm also like, do I want them to be that type of player?
The thing is I don't want that from the team either, because honestly, I think a lot of times physicality makes for a sloppy team. And
when Vetch goes and throws hits, like he's gotten, you've seen his growth through the seasons. When he throws a hit now, it's so much more calculated. There are times though, you can see in games every now and then still he'll go and throw a hit that you can see is very emotional based and frustration, and it'll ruin the play.
Yeah,
it'll ruin the play. He'll be a little off from it, and it'll actually mess up the flow of the Canes game. Like the way that Rod does it, because look at Rod. Rod was not a shy, timid player. But like he also was like physicality when needed. Like it's not like I'm not going to hit this guy just to hit him. I'm going to hit him to get the puck. I'm going to use look at Slavin. I'm going to take this big hit. I'm going to do it because I'm going to get the puck and it's necessary. It's not I'm sending a message at all times.
What I will sit here and say is yes, while I don't want a sloppy physical team, I do still think, like I said, I think they have grown a lot in the physicality department over the years. And this is something that I've been mentioning a lot when it comes to predictions and postseason predictions and what kind of goes on. Yes, they've gotten a little more physical. It's still a hump that I think they need to get over, though, because yes, physicality can sometimes make for a sloppy team. I also think sometimes it's necessary to keep up with teams in the playoffs, because playoffs are a completely different beast when it comes to regular season. And so while I say this, I say this with my asterisk, is I'm looking at the Canes and Rangers as an almost 1A, 1B type situation. And I do think it can be interchangeable depending on the day that you ask me. As of right now, I do think, yes, the Canes have lost a little bit of chemistry when it comes to players leaving and signing new guys. I know we're not quite getting to the number one talks. I don't see the Rangers haven't changed much. That could be a make or break for them. I could see them being a really great team. I can also see it becoming a predictable thing for other teams and it making them worse in the long run. So
yes,
that's where I'm standing.
I agree. I have them again. We also keep in mind, for as much as Canes fans were dreading this offseason because we had a lot of contracts to fill, New York is about to run into a very similar issue with a lot of their players. They're going to have to bring a lot with contracts. Miller, Zach Jones, Coulee, Edstrom, Kakko, Rempe, Lafreniere, like they're about to have the same kind of thing of what are we going to factor in? And this is also a team where they've made some big moves during trade deadlines that then they don't keep these moves in the long run. So like they lost Gaudreau, they lost Winberg, Wheeler. Like there's a lot of people they'll gain at that end, but then they'll lose them. And so it's like you're keeping a core, like pretty much the same team, but you're also adding in these people every now and then. But is that you're not maintaining them long run? I don't know. It's a very ebb and flow.
It could be a make or break.
It's good or bad. Yeah, it's good or bad. So again, you're right. I could see everything ebbing and flowing. And again, all of us, I will gladly eat my words if these have moved around. Because again, I was one who had Rangers higher last season.
I honestly, and if I can go ahead and pencil this in for the podcast in the future, I'd love to revisit this come December and see how much things have changed.
Yeah. I will say there's a little bit of bias on my end, of course, I do have the Carolina Hurricanes as number one. While we have changed up things and we're going to have some interesting chemistry and everything, I think is what we said when we were talking with Mike and Shane. If Necas steps up, if Svech steps up, if you keep the quality from Aho and you keep the quality from Jarvis, you've got some serious firepower up there and you've got your consistency with the Jordans. Your defense is set. You figure out your goaltending. I would love if they play 1A, 1B. Like give me some both. Give me some crazy goaltender. Give me some very silent, reserved goaltender. Like give me both. And you've got Spencer Martin there just in case one of them needs like, hey, I'm not feeling so great today. I love it. I feel very secure in it. Yes, we have some interesting like this person here, maybe some of our lower lines, but some of our lower lines also have some guys that have been with us a little bit with like Drury and who might be bumping up. You never know. So it's kind of, I think if our main guys are firing, I've seen a lot of teams go, not the Canes. Like I feel like the Canes were always like, we have to have each line very well-rounded, very secure from top to bottom. But I've seen teams, especially if you look over in the West, that have gone pretty far, and not all of their lines are powerhouses. They're not all like, they have some pretty weak players over here and there, and they still go pretty dang far.
Yep.
And so maybe that's the change up the Canes needed. Maybe they needed some new blood where you're like, hey, I don't know how he's going to fit, but he works in the spot just well enough to get the rest of your guys going. So there is probably some bias here, but I have good hopes. I feel like we did really well and had very good metrics in the guys that we brought in the off season. And I mean, honestly, we just have to see when we actually play. And, we might have some young guys jump in too and play super well in those spots that we didn't even see coming and have a breakout season. You never know.
Zach.
Yes.
Let you go next.
Who's left, Zach?
Oh, geez.
Because I know you kind of want to, like, yours are a little bit different. I'll bring it back around to the Hurricanes before we jump into other things. But yeah, I'll throw things over to you.
I mean, I totally understand where you guys are coming from with the Rangers. There's not a lot of changeover, but let's also not forget you're talking about could they repeat as President Sheffield winners? I don't think so, but I still think overall, and I did this when we did our prediction roundtable with all the other Metro guys in the top 4 from last year on the other network I'm with, because I know every time I mention it, you guys want to give me grief, but it's just one of those things where we all said it. Yeah, I would love to say the Hurricanes are number 1. I think they can be number 1, but if you look at how they still got Panarin, Vinny Trocheck, Lafreniere, that's a scary line. They did add Riley Smith. He's pretty much go wherever he's been. Mika Zibanejad, you can never overlook him. Chris Kreider. You got Cheadle, Cooley. Right now they have Carrick and VC. That defense. I mean, you guys talked about Jacob Trouba, what he can do and all this other stuff. Let's also not forget Ryan Lindgren. He's there. Keandre Miller. He's going to get the bag. He's a really good offensive defenseman. Zach Jones showed up when he really needed to, and Braden Schneider is also a guy that you can never really overlook as that third D pair. And yeah, Shesty did come back to earth a little bit. Jonathan Quick came out of nowhere, but it's just one of those things where it's I would love to put the Canes 1. Like I said, you can ask me 2 weeks from now. My top 3 is completely different because I think the top 3 is the Rangers, the Hurricanes, and the Devils. But as of right now, just where the roster is, the Hurricanes took a step back. It's not a huge one, but it's a lot of all right. I would love to be wrong and have the Hurricanes win the division. You all know that. Like, let's be honest here. But it's just trying to have a realistic approach to the team as well, in that it's just I see the Hurricanes could finish second, which still isn't bad. You're still making the playoffs for the 7th straight year. Mm-hmm. It's not about winning the division. It's winning about the cup. That's all I really care about.
Yeah. I will reiterate the point that I have made, I think, of all 4 seasons of the SurgeCast. All you need is a wild card 2 spot. That's all you need to go.
Listen, all you have to do is get your foot in the door and then shove your hot goaltender and hot power play in front of you, and you get your way to the cup.
That's all you need. All you need is a wild card 2 spot, maybe a hot goaltender, and you're basically there.
It's the Islanders special, guys. You stick that pinky toe in there, and then you shove your goaltender the rest of the way, and hope your power play keeps up with it. Literally.
While we're talking about the Rangers too, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about everybody's favorite or least favorite, depending on how you look at it, goon in Matt Rempe as well. He's as much as you may love or hate him, you got to admit he's a pest that proves to be somewhat helpful for all 5 minutes that he plays on the ice with the
pause to somewhat was wild.
And like I said, it's one of those things where, yeah, I would love to use it with the Hurricanes and be like, all right, done deal. It's the Hurricanes. Like, yes, but also at the same time,
that's why I'm putting my little asterisk is like, yes, 1 through 3 can be interchangeable. Those 2, I think, are the 2 closest for me.
Oh yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Like, I think those 2 could easily be interchangeable. It's just when you look at the paper, it's kind of like
I do
don't
want to
know.
say, because I might eat my words with these predictions, totally fair. But I do want to say, look how much we have come, like how far we've come from last season where I put the Rangers higher and you guys scoffed at me. I just want to point it out, Zach.
No, absolutely. I will say though, to bring it back around to the Canes before we hop into ads too, is I've mentioned this whenever possible, whenever it's been brought up since free agency started. Yes, we lost Brett Pesce. Yes, we lost Brady Shea. I am so excited to see what this blue line looks like. I am like Sean Walker and getting Ghost Bear back. Like that is really, really exciting for me.
Especially with the team that the power play started to click towards the end of the season.
And let's talk about this too. We kind of lost a little bit, or at least some of us lost a little bit of faith in our offensive defenseman in Tony DeAngelo last season. We don't have that to worry about this season in regards to defense. And I'm talking about not yes, he provided some offensive production. He provided us with a few goal celebrations. That's all great. And I really appreciate for everything he provided for the Hurricanes. But you have to admit there's a little more stability on the blue line now when it comes to actual defense. But while we're talking about offensive production, again, we have Shane Gostisbehere back who can provide both, who I feel comfortable. Yes, if he pushes up, I feel comfortable with him pushing past that offensive blue line a little bit. Like I don't feel like he's gonna make too many mistakes and getting caught too deep. Sean
I
Walker,
also feel like they're a little more interchangeable. Like before, I was terrified to put TDA in with anyone else. And I mean, we saw the Orlov and TDA pairing, and that was nightmare fuel. But with these guys, I feel fine if we need to move around the lines. Like we have to see how they play, but I have very high hopes now that Orlov knows the system and you have guys that are consistent like Slavin and Chatty and Burns does his thing. Like I'm fine sliding them if anyone needs to move around, I'm fine with it. Whereas last season I was like, oh, don't be hurt. Don't go. Where'd you go? Come back.
Right.
No.
Now, the one thing that kind of scares me about this team is that are those forward lines. And I'm almost scared to run into a situation like we did last season where you get 10, 15 games in through the season and you have that players meeting and all of a sudden it's like this coming to Jesus moment. I don't want to have to go through that again with this team. And I have a feeling that might be what we're looking at given the amount of chemistry change that we're seeing up there. Yes, we have Natchez back. Yes, we have Jarvis back. We have a healthy Jarvis back. Not just Jarvis, but we have a guy who had a career season with injury last season coming up and looking at, okay, this is going to be my best season yet. We're hoping to get that same mindset out of Natchez. We've got a question mark in Kokaniemi who says he's feeling a lot more confident, but what is that going to prove out on the ice? Or how is that going to shake out this upcoming season? I am interested to see the role that this team gets started off on when it comes to their forwards. Defense, I am like, okay, lock me in. This is going to be a great defense. I'm really excited to watch it. It's this forward core that I think scares me just a little bit. I don't think that's going to change where I'm putting them in my standings as of right now, though. So.
And there is your SurgeCast Metro Division standings. We are obviously very different on a lot of our thoughts. I think we have a couple here and there. I think me and Bailey agreed on more.
More than last season.
Yeah, more than last season. So we'll see. We'll revisit this later on. And again, you guys tell us. You can tell us who you agree with. You can say who you have in the comments, of course. I know you guys didn't agree with me last year, but that's fine.
Don't worry. Hey, at least we didn't call you a fake fan, so it's all right. It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, fake fan that runs 2 Hurricanes podcasts. Anyway, we're gonna have a quick word from our rest of our sponsors, and then we'll get back because there is a couple more fun little treats as we get closer to the start of the season. I don't know about you guys, but as summer comes to a close, there's a lot more concerts I still want to go see. There's also games, whether it be the Carolina Hurricanes, some AHL teams. Honestly, anything that you need tickets for, I would check out SeatGeek. And thankfully, we get to partner with them. I've used them. I've had friends that have used them. And they're honestly so easy to use. I know some of the ticketing places are kind of confusing. You're like, I don't know what my seat's going to look like. I don't know if this is going to be, I've never been to this place. I don't know if I'm going to get a good view, if it's a good price for the seat that I'm selecting. But I mean, thankfully they take the confusion out of buying the tickets. They put a 0 out of 10 score. And if that's not enough, they put green is good and red is bad. I mean, if you don't know your numbers, you know your colors, right? So all of our viewers can get $20 off their first ticket purchase. So first, make it count, guys. Go somewhere, go ham, get a lot of tickets, jam out, cheer for your favorite team, whatever you want to do. But it's a Sebastian Aho type deal. You get $20 off your first ticket purchase with the code thesurgecast in all caps. We'll have links in our bios and everything, but go check it out, guys. It makes the buying of tickets anywhere you want to go relish the last bits of summer. Go get some events for it's getting to be spooky season, so there's going to be fun things coming up then too. So again, use the code thesurgecast for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek.
I mean, hey, speaking of spooky season, if you want to get scared, just go watch the Carolina Panthers game.
You don't know what you're getting. It's a mixed bag with that team, guys.
No, you do know what you're getting. That's what's sad. You know exactly what you're getting.
Hey, we won our last game. Okay, I'm holding on to what I can.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, honestly. But if you're not using our one sponsor of SeatGeek, we do kind of recommend going and maybe getting some. You got money off over at SeatGeek. Why don't you go and turn that money into more money, right, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, with DraftKings, it's TD Tutty, taking it to the house. Wherever you call a touchdown, they matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Ready to place your first NFL bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? Well, you can score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
And
I don't know,
guys,
but I'm so excited for that to be about hockey. I'm just so excited for DraftKings to be about hockey.
And speaking of hockey, don't know about you guys, but I know when I've got gear that I'm looking for or to get new gear, to get things to enhance my hockey experience, there's a local Raleigh shop that I would recommend you guys using too, and that is primoxhockey.com. Guys, local Raleigh brand, day zero sponsor of the SurgeCast. Awesome group of guys over at Primo X Hockey. If you're looking for gear, if you're looking for pucks, balls, wax, they have some really good smelling waxes, guys, like for your sticks. Like, I don't know about you, but that sign me up. But if you're not looking for hockey gear specifically, they also have merch such as t-shirts, sweatshirts, tapestries, and koozies. That it's pretty boilerplate for me, guys. If you're looking online, go ahead and throw some things in your cart. When you're ready to check out, be sure to use code SurgeCast at checkout. We talked about that Aho type deal over at SeatGeek. We got a similar deal for you at Primo X Hockey. 20% off your orders, guys, online. Code SurgeCast. I'm personally an online shopper, so that's, I mean, even if I was in Raleigh, that's likely how I would get my gear. But if you're not like me, you're more of an in-person type guy or gal, they are local to Raleigh, so be sure to go check them out over on Diggs Drive, 1401 Diggs Drive, Suite E. They are open now Monday through Sunday. Their Monday through Friday hours go from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday, 9 to 5, and Sunday, give you a little afternoon shopping 1 to 6. You might not be able to get that code or that percentage off in store, but you do get $5 skate sharpenings for those hockey players out there who are looking to get it done at a local hockey shop. So if you end up going in store, be sure to let them know the SurgeCast sent you. But if you are not going in store, be sure to check them out online again at primoxhockey.com. If you're checking out, use code SurgeCast for 20% off your order. And now we'll throw it back over to the rest of the show.
Also, real quick, free shipping. So you do get free shipping in the continental United States, and they're also season ticket members. So you're helping fellow caniacs.
There you go. And now for the rest of the show.
All right. And we are back. I thank you to everyone that stuck through with all of our sponsors. Anyway, so one of the things we talked about in one of our previous episodes is there are some events, of course, coming up before the season started. And one of them was the Canes 5K. Repping my shirt to show anyone that is viewing us. I walked it, did my calves and my feet and my hips and everything hurt afterwards. And for the days to come, yes, 100% yes. But it was so fun. You got to be out there. You got to be surrounded by a ton of caniacs. Made it feel like, the pre-game festivities that normally happen. You felt the season was upon us. The players came out. You got to see a bunch of the young guys, but also a couple of veterans were out there as well. You get Burns and Jarvie. Then you get, of course, you have Shane and Mike commentating, narrating, doing their thing through the whole thing. As you're crossing the finish line, as you're circling around, you've got them cheering for you. And then presenting to the winners at the end as well. So for anyone that was out there, I know you can agree with me. It was very fun. The weather was beautiful. Overall, great. Got some breakfast, got some beers, got to walk around Lenovo and take in all of its new, I almost said PNC, and take in all of the new signage and everything. But honestly, hearing Shane and Mike talk and seeing the players really made it feel like, hey, guys, hockey season's about to start. So I had a lot of fun with that. If you participated as well, please comment. Would love to hear anyone else that was part of it, but it was fun. Mike and Shane say hi to you guys. We got to talk to them at the end. And I said it was great to have them both and that Shane might be competing with Mike for some of the viewership. And they said, oh my gosh, well, what if we were both on? So
I was literally going to bring this up. Can we do a SurgeCast Canescast crossover? Like, can this be a thing that happens? Oh my God.
I'm not going to say that was their idea, but they didn't seem opposed to it. But they were really fun to see at the end. And they said they greatly enjoyed coming on here as well. And so again, plug for them. Go listen to Canes Cast, and hopefully we'll have them.
I wish you could watch Canes Cast, but I don't think they're ever going to set up video in the in the dungeons as they call it. So
I will say too, the highlight looking at photos of the guys coming out and saying hi to the crowd, whatever. Can I just point your attention to the headband that Pyotr Kochetkov wears?
I wanted them to come out in their Jarvis shirts.
Oh
and then I'd be like, man, do they even wash these things? Like, I was waiting for it.
We all have to mention too how great it was for the fact that sucker sold out really fast as well. So
not only did it sell out, but the entire freaking crew showed up to training camp at those mofos. Like, that's honestly that's top tier from that team. I appreciated that so much.
So that was fun, of course. That was my first time doing the Canes 5K. It was great. Honestly, highly encourage anyone to do it next year. Walk it, run it, whatever you want to do. It's fun. You get the Storm Surge crew around cheering you on. You've got music, you've got water, you've got snacks at the end. All good.
Did you end up walking the entire thing, or did you get some?
Yeah. Oh no, I walked the entire thing except for maybe 0.1 of a mile, and I ran at the end.
Okay, I was going to say I just had that Alex Russo from Wizards of Waverly Place thing running through my head. No, I don't run.
I wasn't feeling running at the end. I was hurting just from walking. Okay, so I was fine not running. I've never been a runner. Athlete, yes. Runner, no.
Running for soccer and running for fun are two.
We were laughing because there were some people that were
fun.
There were people that were far ahead at the front, like literally as we weren't even like barely starting, and people were like passing, and so we're over here. I finished it under. Our goal was to finish under an hour, which we did, and then some people finished in like probably less than 5 minutes.
Yeah,
but it was funny. We were like, you can tell the people
like
that run and take it seriously, that like run for fun. Then the next people up were athletes where they're like, I'm athletic, I could run, but they don't run like a lot. Like that's not their main thing. And then you get slowly towards the people who are like, it's a beautiful day outside, I could walk.
I was gonna say, Aaron Cohen, doesn't he train for marathons? That must have been a breeze for him.
Yeah, he's literally training for the Boston Marathon. I think the guy is like, I can do this in my. You probably do it backwards.
3.1 miles. That's a pshaw.
Meanwhile, I ran like maybe the 0.1 and I was dying. Anyway, so some other fun things. This is non-Canes related, but as we also talk about the one preseason game we've had so far, another fun thing that Canes fans should pay attention to, especially as it comes to the regular season, is the NHL has announced some rule changes. They might not seem significant at the moment, but they're definitely going to make an impact in the long run.
I want to start out by talking about Rule 1 listed on the thing we're talking about. And this is probably my favorite rule change out of everything that's happened, is you can now challenge pucks being thrown over the glass for delay of game. That is honestly like that is revolutionary in my eyes, because it like I can't tell you how many games that I can recall, not remember exactly, but recall like, no, that didn't go off a defensive player. That went off a different guy. That shouldn't be his delay a game penalty. And it like now we can actually go and prevent things like that, and it makes me so happy.
And also keep in mind though, judgment calls are still unchallengeable, and challengers can't use the challenge to get missed calls called. They can only if they disagree, such as Jacob Slavin hits it, goes off the opponent, and they say Jacob Slavin out for delay of game. Brendan Moore can be like, I don't quite agree with that.
It's like challenging for offsides or goaltender interference for a goal. Like if you can only challenge it if the play already exists.
No one knows what goaltender interference is. Let's not add that to the bag of what this is.
So can only challenge if it already exists. But the fact that that's even a thing, revolutionary. I'm sold.
We also the next one, the third one I'm excited about, but the next one also, we have noticed some goalies on certain teams seem to dislodge the net quite a bit. But now there is no line change when a net is displaced. If the offending team dislodges its net, it won't be allowed to have a line change at the next stoppage of play. And also, goalies are a list of possible offenders about the net being displaced. It's not just like, oh, the net got displaced. It's like another stoppage of play. Now it's treated as if almost like an icing, where it stopped the play, but also you don't get a line change. It's not a way for you to get a break for your players, which not saying some goalies were doing that. Not saying they weren't doing that.
Yeah. Not pointing any fingers, but also you know who you are.
Yes. I think the next one is also very interesting. And I think this one will actually impact Carolina Hurricanes quite a bit. It's a face-off procedure following icings. So rule 76.4. I haven't been actually saying what the rules are because, sorry guys, they're very...
Who's going to sit there and say, no, that's this rule in this addendum.
But yes, so previously the rule only applied to defensive centers who are improperly set up to buy their teammates a few extra seconds of rest. The player was awarded one warning before being assessed a minor penalty. Now the rule applies to both offensive and defensive centermen. Each will be allowed one warning before a minor penalty. I think this might impact us. I feel like a lot of our players, and it felt like we were getting a lot of warnings and calls on our face-offs and a lot of kickoffs. I think this might impact the other team as well more going forward. another one that will impact the Canes, which is funny because I think one Martin H's was used as an example in the video of what not to do. Players can no longer sit on the boards waiting to join the ice.
And I will say this is very specific. You can still sit on the boards. You cannot have a skate on the outside. So like you can't sit with your legs on either side of the board. You can still sit as long as the skate is not exposed on the inner edge.
I mean, it makes sense. It's like a form of interference. It makes sense.
Yeah, just sit side saddle like women back in the pioneer days when they had to ride horses instead of straddling the board. It's all right. Just sit side saddle. You're fine, guys. You'll figure it out.
Be ladylike, guys. Let's go.
Hey, have you seen hockey Twitter? They're all gonna love that now. It's like,
and also, lastly,
I really appreciate this rule as well.
If a goalie is hurt, the replacement has time to warm up. Most of the time, goalies came in cold. Of course, they got like thrown 1,000 pucks at them because, I mean, they had no warm up. Why not? They might have warmed up like 30, 40 minutes ago at the beginning of the game, but now, no. So now that teams can take advantage of giving a new goalie a little bit of a warm up, which is really good for, I think, long run for the goaltender. I think it'll prevent more injuries. I think in the long run, it'll be helpful for goalies. I mean, can you imagine sitting over on the other side thinking, la-di-da, like they're not assuming they're going to play in the game, but then all of a sudden they are
able to have that, to have that grace period of warm up. So you're not going in like, oh, I'm thrown into a game. Let me do some side shuffling or whatever while the puck's on the other side of the ice. Like,
I mean, it didn't really matter in a certain Leafs Canes game a few years ago. So,
Steve Dangle's going to be punching himself for that one till the day that man dies.
I mean, yeah. Oh man!
Oh god, the ultimate Steve Dangle, dang it!
But as we're talking about more things on ice, the Carolina Hurricanes were back on the ice for their first preseason against Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay, the Lightning struck first, of course. But
I see what you did there.
But we had one familiar face in Pyotr Kochetkov on the ice again. I think Walt Ruff or some of our reporters have posted, if you're curious about why the lineups are what they are, there's very specific reasons about like how many veterans play in a game, how many new guys, how long a time, whatever. Just tune in, look at the roster, be excited.
Blah, yeah. 8 veterans, how many games you played the season before? Yakety. Yes, we've all had a.
This isn't just let's test and see which young guys can make the roster. Like it's a lot more complicated than I think some people think it is.
Hey, you know what? Shout out to the blue line for leading the way once again, per always. Anthony Honka, scored a goal, and Alexei Himosami with 44 seconds left. So
all Finnish defensemen. Let's pay attention to that.
The announcers thought for a minute it was tipped off Brind'Amour's, which, hey, we had a Brind'Amour being coached by a Brind'Amour. Like, that was great. Like, how awesome is it for him to be on the ice with his dad?
Fifth time ever that you've had a player play for his dad who was a head coach.
And let's just talk about how, not flippant, because obviously it is a big moment, but how little they each paid attention to it. They both kind of looked at it like, oh, this is just another game. Like, it's not like Skylar was... at least according to interviews and things like that, like Rod mentioned twice, both pregame and postgame, like he wasn't thinking about it that much. He's got an entire team to look at. He can't just sit there and say, "Oh, hey, that's my son." Obviously, it is a really proud moment.
I mean, knowing Rod, he probably assigned one of his assistant coaches to be like, "Hey, can you keep it? Like, can you make note of it? I'm going to be watching the rest of these guys. Can you watch my son just to give a non-bias? Like, hey, just tell me how he's playing. Give me your insights at the end," because I feel like that's how Rod functions.
Skylar was the same one. He's like, I wasn't even thinking about it. He's like, I was more, he was more worried about with, Charles Alexis Legault and Yanni Peretz. I mean, they won their national championship in that building like 2 seasons ago. Yeah, that's what they more cared about than anything else. And Skylar is such his dad. Like, you wait to listen to him talk in the interviews and just how he views his game and the fact of how Rod's like, yeah, he's a defensive center. That's his game. I'm like, could he be any more Rod Brendamore's kid at this point outside of wearing a 77?
Is it possible to be more of a Brendamore?
Yeah, and he's a 1999 kid from Raleigh. So I mean, there you go, Raleigh's own, born in '99. He basically talks like his dad, thinks like his dad, and plays like his dad for the most part of defensive.
In Hurricane fashion, all right, they played their best hockey in the last like 5 minutes of the third. Yep. All right. Jack Drury did what he has trained with us for seasons now, is went in, laid a body, retrieved the puck at the boards, gave high pressure. It got kicked out to our defenseman, and the defenseman scored from the high crease. Like that.
44 seconds to go in regulation.
Like, that's the most Carolina coded thing I've ever seen. And it's like, all right, the young guy, I wonder who's coached them, Brendamore. And so it was really good to see, of course, that Jack Drury doing Jack Drury things, like kind of like he's still a young guy, but he was obviously leading the other young guys on the ice last night. Piotr had some great saves as well.
Can we shout out just Barry Kotkaniemi for the fact that he took face-offs
60 for 22.
On his offhand, he was taking righty face-off with his stick backwards, winning the face-offs. Oh, and get this, 72.7% of the face-offs. Everyone else was 50 or
Carry
less.
that into the season, KK.
And it's fun because I had a lot of people mentioning it to me, and I'm like, yeah, I saw that too. For the fact, when the fact that he took a left-hand stick, flipped it to the right, and still won face-offs, I think people are going to notice that, especially around Brendamore. It's like, this guy can win face-offs on his offhand. Okay. KK, go out there. We need you.
It was great. So you got your veterans and KK. Veterans are so young, but KK
24.
And you got Drury.
KK's
and
24.
Then the ones that the Canes like to make note of course, is Himoslami with the shot at the end to get the goal. Apparently, like, he has been playing super well and making effective plays from the blue line. So I wouldn't be surprised. Again, as we said, our defense is pretty set for the year. But if in doubt, we had to call someone up. This guy's making a call, like, he's making a name for, like, hey, I should be your guy. Like, I'm right here. I'm ready.
Him, Ronan Seeley, maybe Riley Stillman, Ty Smith. We have a lot of guys that can make some noise. Scott Morrow. There's a lot of guys that are making some noise right now. I'd say for seventh defenseman, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Smith or Joachim Ryan or Riley Stillman. But yeah, we have a lot of other good young guys that could make some cases for themselves for the defense. Yeah.
I mean, it was a fun game to watch. You don't
if you could watch it. If you could watch it.
Well, you could watch it.
Out of so here's the thing. If you're in the Carolina or the Tampa market, you could watch it. If you're out of market, no, you could not watch it because per NHL rules, you are only allowed to watch it in market. If you're out, sorry, tough noodles. You get to listen to the game, and that's about it.
Sorry, Bailey. Well, for the rest of us,
I didn't either.
But the thing is,
for the rest of us, Hurricanes.
Not like I can watch Colorado Avalanche games either because those are on radio.
Well, for the rest of us in North Carolina, you could the Carolina Hurricanes provided the link on their website. You can check it out again. They're from their next preseason game, Friday, September 27th, versus Florida, 6:00 at the Lenovo Center. So they'll have the link there. They'll make it available. It'll be local, like it's in state. So you'll find it available. I'm very excited you get to see more of the Canes play. It'll probably be it'll probably be different lineup. You might have some of the same guys. Again, it's weird on who can play when and how long and whatever. But it's really fun to see what the new guys can do and to see the other guys kind of, like I said, to see guys like Jack Drury and Barry Kotkaniemi step up into leadership roles, even if it's just a preseason. Like, that's them being like, I'm ready to get back into my form for the full season. So
absolutely.
Yeah. But also don't forget 99.9 The Fan for Mike and Tripp if you want to listen to the radio, if you're not able to watch it in market. One thing I know we didn't have it on the rundown, but I want to get your thoughts on the Prime documentary that we're going to get very, very soon on the face-off thing.
Oh yeah.
I don't care.
forgot
Set Service
about
isn't on it.
that. No, I'm interested to. I honestly haven't read into too much about it. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
It's basically almost Drive to Survive if you're really into the F1 stuff, and now it's just hockey. So
I mean,
from what
I
I've
feel
heard,
like we
it's
can give our thoughts on it after we see it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Ask me again.
I
when
know that.
watch it.
I'm just. Are you guys going to watch it based on my question? 'Cause
yeah,
I know.
absolutely.
There's not going to be a Canes player on it, but yes, I will watch it.
I have another allegiance on there, so it'll be.
I wonder
Oh
who that is.
gee. Oh gee. I wonder who that is.
Yeah.
I'm just
All
excited to
right.
watch it. I'm excited to watch it because at least it's more documentaries about hockey because we don't have enough of it, unfortunately.
Mhm.
So I am very excited regardless. So yeah. It'll be fun.
Well,
There we go.
thank you again. This was a little bit of a longer episode because, of course, we all have to defend what we're thinking in terms of our Metro rankings.
Or just get called names. It's all right. No big deal.
Yeah, because that never
Big
happens with your friends.
Man.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah, sure, whatever.
but yeah, again, in the comments below, tell us who you want to see win the Metro. I don't know. Tell us if you like our predictions. Let us know.
Gee, the Carolina
if you-
Hurricanes podcast. Hey, who do you think should win the division?
Well,
No,
not
no.
Canes, according to you.
Yeah, not Canes according to you. Anyway, again, thanks for sticking with us. It's always a fun episode. You get to
This
see
has
all
been
three
the
of us.
longest. I was gonna say it's been the first time in a while we've got to sit down with just the three of us and shoot things back and forth. So
Make fun of Zach. Yeah, 100%. But again, we are very excited. We love having our guests on. They make for great stories. We love to hear all about it, but it is really fun to get back to our roots with just the three of us, give each other a hard time, talk about our love for the game. So yeah, thanks for sticking with us for a little bit of a longer episode. I'm gonna see the Canes in person in like a week. I'm very excited, and the home opener is not that far away, guys.
not that far at all.
Mm-mm. So
wait.
but yeah, so Zach, until next time, where can they find you and where can they find the network?
Well, you can find the Hockey Podcast Network at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com. We have podcasts for every single team and even got one with Terry Ryan from Shoresy. So if you want to check that out, go ahead. If you want to find me, I'm at onetruezach on X. Brain just shut off.
Late.
It's been a long.
It's tired. I'm late.
I have a link tree in my bio where you can find all my articles at the Hockey Writers. Yes, I do write. Million cat.
Whoa!
Yes.
You put
Yes.
words on a page and post them. How exciting!
Yeah, he actually writes down that the Carolina Hurricanes aren't going to be number one. He doesn't just say it; he writes it down.
We have photo proof somewhere.
I actually haven't written my predictions down yet, so nice try though.
Our intern
I was
has.
going to say they're in text form, so
Click the link tree in the bio. You can find the articles. You can find out where I do my other podcasts, Locked On Hurricanes, and all that fun stuff. So, yep, check it out there. Bailey, where can people find you? And yeah, where can they find you?
everything else.
Yeah.
In regards to the show, you can find us over on X, Instagram, and YouTube at the SurgeCast. On YouTube, again, channel is just the SurgeCast. If you're watching on YouTube, hi, hello, how you doing? Be sure to hit that big red subscribe button down below, hit that like button, and be sure to click on that bell notification icon so you never miss an episode. We have link trees in all of our bios, so you can find us three here at the SurgeCast, but you can also find out where to listen to us, whether that be on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. As far as I go, you can find me over on X at baileyycurtis, and that is Bailey with 2 Y's. Find me over on Instagram at baileyycurtis. And I don't know about you guys, but I would stay tuned to my socials. I have some pretty exciting not Canes related news coming here soon. Kat, where can the people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on X, Twix, Twitter, whatever you call it, at caniacchic, and then on TikTok at KVTHunter74. Yeah, it's pretty much it. And then weekly here talking with you guys. But of
Are we
course,
back to weekly now? How
I
exciting.
mean, yeah, that means
We
we got
have been.
content. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have been, Bailey.
in case people aren't paying attention.
Yes. We got back into the swing of things. You can tell again, another sign the hockey season is right around the corner. But yeah, so thanks for sticking with us again for this episode of the SurgeCast, season 4, episode 7. I'm Kat,
I'm Bailey.
I'm Zach.
and we'll see you next week at the SurgeCast.
Happy fall, guys.